So the heart is really interesting. It's a pump. Its job is to pump blood around the heart, blood around the body. The question is really why. What is the function of blood? Well, we're circulating blood because it's a medium to transport things from glucose for respiration, amino acids so we can build protein. Young ones are growing. You young ones are growing, so you've got to build your own proteins. So that's the point of the blood. It's a transportation mechanism to transport glucose, to transport amino acids. But even more pertinent to all of that is to transport oxygen, right? It's to pick it up from respiring tissues and put oxygen into your blood, that by diffusion in your lungs, and then pump it all around the body. We have a double circulatory system, and you'll see lots of cool pictures like this. Hate them, too complex, don't need to see it. I think someone was just showing off on how to do a really complex diagram to confuse GCSE students. I wouldn't even give that to one of my A-level students until they got to year 13. So instead of this kind of diagram, I'm going to draw the kind of diagram which isn't exactly accurate, but gives you a real deeper understanding of what's going on. So for me, the heart is going to be a box chopped into 4 chambers. The most powerful of these chambers, I'm going to move this up, is the left ventricle. This one here, I'm just going to write on it, I'm just going to press pen. This one here is your left ventricle. And this pumps blood out. It pumps blood out all over your body. To give you an idea of how powerful this is the thickest of your chambers. It is exceptionally strong. It must pump blood from your heart to your little toe or your big toe and all the way back to your lungs. Okay, so this is tough. It carries oxygenated blood, so I'm going to change colour. I'm going to do this in bright red. So your oxygenated blood come out and it goes all the way down to everywhere in your body. So it goes to your body. All right. And once it gets to anywhere in your body, it drops the oxygen. Okay. The oxygen is used for respiration. So it literally unloads. It unloads oxygen where it's needed. Now, it's run out of oxygen. It's got no oxygen, it needs to get some more oxygen. And the way it gets the oxygen is your body must then send it to your lungs. And that is the job of the right-hand side of your heart, which I'm just going to draw a line here. This is your right-hand side of your heart. So your left ventricle pumps the blood. It is now low in oxygen and it pumps it all to your body, then all the way back to here, to your right atria. Your right atrium collects the blood. Atrium, was a really old word used for the first room you walk into in a house. So it's collected in the atrium. The right atrium's here. It then goes into your right ventricle. Your right ventricle pumps it. Now it's blue because there's no oxygen, so it pumps it to your lungs. Dun, 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 to your lungs. Once it gets to your lungs, it is there to pick up oxygen. And that's it. Your lungs are right next to your heart. So your right ventricle doesn't have to pump it very fast. So your right ventricle is thinner because it's not pumping it that far. So your right ventricle pumps it to your lungs. Your blood picks up oxygen by diffusion. And then it goes to your left ventricle here. This is your left ventricle, LV. LV, this is your left atrium. Oh my God, this is your left atrium. It is collected in your left atrium, then drops into your left ventricle, and then goes round to your body, and it goes in a circle, hence the name, circulatory system. Okay, so the things you need to know, and I was looking at the labeling for this, you don't need to, I had to delete some, most of these you don't really need to know. So, what you've got to do is, what side is oxygenated blood and what side is deoxygenated blood? Okay, Caden, let's have a look at this, shall we? So the red is oxygenated and the blue is deoxygenated. So the right-hand side deals with the deoxygenated, your left-hand side deals with your oxygenated blood. So a lot of these terms you don't need to know. Right? So today we're going to focus on the blood vessels. This one on your left ventricle is huge. All right? It is really powerful. It is an artery. And this is called the aorta. Okay? That's going away. Right? The blood vessel bringing it back is a massive vein called the Vena Cava. We are going to look at the structure of veins and arteries, but not today. Okay. Once it gets to your heart, it's got to go to your lungs. And there's a very old word to do with your lungs called pulmonary. All right. So as it gets to through your vena cava into your right atrium, it goes into your right ventricle and gets pumped by the pulmonary through the pulmonary artery. Right. So it travels through the pulmonary artery. So the blood vessels leaving the heart at high pressure, leaving the ventricles or arteries. So the pulmonary artery, it goes to the lungs. On the way back, it comes back with a pulmonary vein, and I spelled that wrong, but we'll survive. Pulmonary vein. All right, I'm typing terribly. I've spelled it. I've mistyped it on both occasions, and this is what I think about, and that's it. So my ideas in terms of GCSE Biology do not need to be this complex. Don't like that. Don't know why they've done that, and I don't know why their system here is so complex. It doesn't need to be. In terms of tasks, what you're going to do, you're going to do two things. You've got the answers to these over here, and they're there. And I think the first part, just, look at it, label it, done. All right. And the first part is really just having an idea of how to do it. Once you've done that, you've got a reading task. Biology is content heavy. You want to just try to read that, pull out the text, pull out the information from the text, try to answer these questions. You've then got this question on the flow of blood and a bit more on correcting the right sequences. That's the main task. And one thing I am going to do is, I think once you draw it here, all right, and you can check it, I mean, there's the answers. It's not a hard task. What I suggest you do is at the end, if you've got time, I'm taking this. And I'd say just pop it down at the end and try to draw it without looking at it. It doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. Okay? All right. So I'm just going to stop recording that.